Before Reddit, before YouTube, before even Google existed, there was Usenet, the internet's first social media. And on August 5th, 1996, something strange happened. Across multiple news groups, dozens of bizarre messages appeared with the same subject line: Markovian Parallax Denigrate. The contents were even stranger, seemingly random strings of words forming grammatically correct but semantically nonsensical sentences. For over 25 years, no one has definitively explained what these messages were, who sent them, or why. Welcome to one of the internet's oldest unsolved mysteries, and welcome to Vanishing Threads. Today, we're exploring the Markovian Parallax Denigrate, a cryptic series of posts that appeared in the early days of the internet and continues to baffle digital archaeologists and amateur sleuths to this day. What makes this mystery particularly fascinating isn't just its age, but how it sits at the intersection of emerging technology, Cold War paranoia, and the dawn of the digital age. These seemingly random strings of text appeared years before modern cryptographic puzzles like Cicada 3301, yet they display a complexity that suggests purpose behind their apparent chaos. Let's travel back to the internet of 1996 and unravel this thread from the very beginning. To understand the Markovian Parallax Denigrate, we first need to understand the digital landscape of 1996. The mid-90s internet was nothing like what we know today. There was no social media as we understand it. No YouTube, no Facebook, not even Google yet. The World Wide Web itself was still in its infancy, with only about 100,000 websites in existence, compared to the nearly 2 billion we have today. For many early internet users, Usenet was the primary way to connect with others online. Established in 1980, Usenet was a worldwide distributed discussion system, essentially a precursor to internet forums. It consisted of thousands of news groups organized by topic, where users could post messages and others could reply. These news groups covered everything from technical discussions about programming languages to hobby groups for science fiction fans. They were the communities where the early internet culture developed, where the first memes spread, and where many of the norms and behaviors we take for granted online today were established. Usenet was also largely unmoderated. While some news groups had administrators who could exercise limited control, there was no central authority. This made it both a vibrant space for free expression and a potential playground for spam, trolls, and more mysterious activities. It was in this environment, on August 5th, 1996, that something strange occurred. Across multiple unrelated news groups, dozens of posts appeared with the same subject line: Markovian Parallax Denigrate. The content of these posts was even more puzzling than their coordinated appearance. Here's an example of one such message. Jitterbugging McKinley Abe break Newtonian inferring core update. Cohen Air collaborate, Rue Sports writing, Rococo, Invocate, Tousle Shadflower, Debbie Sterling, Pathogenesis, Escritoire, Adventitious Novo ITT, Most Chairperson, Dwight Herzog, Different Pinpoint Dunk, McKinley Pendant Firelight, Uranus Episodic Medicine, Ditty Craggy Flogging Variac Brotherhood, Web Impromptu File, Countenance Inheritance Cohesion, Refrigerate Morphine Napkin Inland, Gennaro Nameable Yearbook Hark. At first glance, this appears to be complete nonsense. Random words strung together without meaning. But upon closer inspection, there are some curious properties. Firstly, the words themselves are all valid English words. They appear in grammatically plausible sequences, nouns, verbs, adjectives in natural orders. There's no obvious pattern to the word selection, and certain words and names appear repeatedly across different messages: McKinley, Debbie, Newtonian. The posts appeared across diverse news groups, from SciCrypt, dedicated to cryptography discussions, to alt.religion.kybology, a humor group. In total, researchers have identified at least 23 different news groups that received these messages, with slight variations in the text between posts. The name itself, Markovian Parallax Denigrate, offers potential clues. Markovian refers to Markov chains, a mathematical system that can be used to generate text that is grammatically correct but semantically nonsensical, exactly like these messages. Parallax is the apparent displacement of an object when viewed from different positions. Denigrate means to criticize unfairly or to defame. The immediate reaction from Usenet users was confusion and curiosity. Some dismissed the posts as spam or a prank. Others, particularly in the Cycrypt newsgroup, wondered if they were witnessing some kind of coded communication. One user in alt.religion.kybology joked, "I think someone's Markov chain-based text generator got loose." This was one of the first suggestions that the text might have been generated using a Markov process, a type of algorithm that predicts the probability of a word appearing based on the previous words in a sequence. In the pre-Google era, investigating such phenomena was significantly more difficult than it would be today. There were no powerful search engines to crawl through archives, no social media to crowdsource investigations, and many of the digital forensic tools we take for granted simply didn't exist. Despite these limitations, early internet sleuths made some interesting discoveries. For starters, most of the posts came from the same email address, Susan_step@martech.com. The domain martech.com belonged to a company called Martech Inc. based in Minnesota. All of the posts all appeared within a relatively short time frame on August 5, 1996. Attempts to contact Susan Stepp at the time were unsuccessful, and Martech claimed no knowledge of the posts or the email address, suggesting it might have been spoofed, a common practice even in those early internet days. The mystery might have faded into obscurity if not for a 2006 article by journalist and author Brian Dillon in the UK publication Cabinet Magazine, titled "Artificial Paranoia, a reading of the Markovian Parallax Denigrate." Dillon's article brought the strange posts to a new generation of internet users. Dillon suggested that the posts might be an early example of spam poetry, nonsensical text generated by algorithms that accidentally create something with aesthetic value. He also noted the timing of the posts, coming just after the end of the Cold War, and speculated about connections to intelligence agencies and coded communications. This article sparked renewed interest in the mystery, particularly on forums like Reddit's Unresolved Mysteries, where users began to compile archives of the original posts and develop new theories. Perhaps the most intriguing development came when internet sleuths discovered that a real person named Susan Lindauer had connections to both the timing and location of the original posts. Lindauer was a former journalist and congressional staffer who was arrested in 2004 for allegedly acting as an unregistered agent for the Iraqi government before the 2003 events. She claimed she was actually working as a CIA asset and was being silenced for her knowledge of sensitive intelligence. The connection to the Markovian Parallax Denigrate came through several coincidences. Lindauer had worked for Representative Ron Wyden of Oregon in 1996, around the time the posts appeared. She had connections to Minnesota, where the Martech company was based. Some of her later writings displayed unusual linguistic patterns that some compared to the Markovian posts. Her case involved allegations of passing coded messages. This led some investigators to theorize that Lindauer might have been Susan Stepp, and that the posts could have been some form of coded communication related to her alleged intelligence activities. However, there are significant problems with this theory. No direct evidence links Lindauer to the posts. The linguistic similarities are subjective at best. Lindauer herself has never acknowledged any connection to the messages. The technical sophistication required to generate the posts seems at odds with Lindauer's background. While the Lindauer connection makes for a compelling narrative, most serious researchers consider it speculative at best and a red herring at worst. More convincing explanations come from technical analysis of the posts themselves. Computer scientists who have studied the messages note several key features. The text displays characteristics consistent with early Markov chain text generation. The repeated words and phrases across different posts suggest they were generated from the same source text or corpus. The grammatical structure is too consistent to be random, yet too incoherent to be human written. Dr. Julian Dybel, who has studied early internet phenomena, suggests. What we're likely seeing is someone experimenting with text generation algorithms, possibly as an early spam technique, or perhaps as a research project that accidentally got loose on Usenet. This technical explanation aligns with the timing. 1996 was a period of rapid experimentation with natural language processing and early AI text generation. The term Markovian in the subject line itself points to this explanation. While the Markov chain explanation is the most technically plausible, other theories persist. The numbers station theory. Some believe the posts were a digital version of number stations, shortwave radio broadcasts used by intelligence agencies to communicate with field agents. The seemingly random words could contain coded instructions, meaningful only to the intended recipient. The art project theory. Others suggest it may have been an early internet art project, deliberately creating mysterious content to provoke reaction and discussion. Essentially, a proto-ARG, alternate reality game. The testing theory, a more prosaic explanation, is that someone was simply testing a spam system or a method to post across multiple newsgroups simultaneously, using generated text to avoid triggering early spam filters. The encryption test theory. Given that one of the targeted newsgroups was Cycrypt, some speculate it could have been a public demonstration of a steganographic technique, hiding encrypted messages within seemingly random text. What makes the Markovian Parallax Denigrate so enduring as an internet mystery is not just its age, but how it represents a unique moment in digital history, the transition from the early academic internet to the more chaotic, commercialized web that would follow. Historical context. The mid-1990s was a pivotal moment for the internet. The web was just beginning to enter mainstream consciousness. The first browser war between Netscape and Internet Explorer was underway, and companies were just starting to realize the commercial potential of the internet. It was also a time of significant geopolitical transition. The Cold War had ended, but intelligence agencies were adapting to new realities rather than disappearing. Encryption was becoming a major political issue, with the US government's Clipper chip proposal and restrictions on encryption exports generating significant controversy. In this context, the Markovian Parallax Denigrate sits at a fascinating intersection of emerging technology, changing geopolitics, and evolving online culture. Technical significance. From a technical perspective, the most likely explanation remains that the posts were generated using Markov chain algorithms, an early experiment in what we would now call procedural text generation or primitive AI writing. What's particularly interesting is that if this is true, it represents one of the first encounters many internet users had with algorithm-generated content, something that has become ubiquitous today with AI writing tools like GPT-4. In 1996, seeing computer-generated text that maintained grammatical structure while being semantically nonsensical would have been novel and potentially unsettling, perhaps explaining why the posts captured attention and sparked speculation. Cultural impact. The Markovian Parallax Denigrate has become a touchstone in internet folklore, one of the earliest digital mysteries that continues to fascinate new generations of internet users. It exemplifies how the internet creates and preserves mysteries in unique ways. In the pre-digital age, strange occurrences might be witnessed by a few people and then fade from memory. But the internet's combination of persistence through archives and global reach means that mysteries can be continuously rediscovered and investigated by new people. The story also highlights how digital mysteries differ from their real-world counterparts. The evidence doesn't degrade over time. The posts exist in exactly the same form as they did in 1996. But the context around them, the companies, email addresses, and technologies involved can disappear completely, making certain avenues of investigation impossible. After more than 25 years, the Markovian Parallax Denigrate remains officially unsolved. We don't know with certainty who created these strange posts or why they appeared across multiple Usenet groups on that day in August 1996. The most plausible explanation, that they were an early experiment in algorithmic text generation, is also the least exciting. But it's worth remembering that what seems mundane to us now was cutting-edge technology in 1996. The ability to generate text that maintained grammatical structure while being semantically meaningless was a significant technical achievement at the time. Perhaps what's most interesting about this mystery isn't the posts themselves, but how they've been interpreted over the years. From Cold War espionage theories to connections with controversial political figures to artistic experiments, the Markovian Parallax Denigrate has become a kind of digital Rorschach test, revealing more about the observers than the observed. This pattern of interpretation and reinterpretation is something we see repeatedly with internet mysteries. In the absence of definitive answers, digital spaces become filled with theories that reflect the anxieties and interests of each new generation that discovers them. The Markovian Parallax Denigrate also serves as a reminder of how much of our early digital history is at risk of being lost. Many Usenet archives have disappeared, companies have gone out of business taking their records with them, and the technical context of the early internet becomes increasingly foreign to new users. Digital archaeologists and internet historians are now working to preserve these artifacts of our early online culture, recognizing that they represent an important transitional period in human communication, the birth of our digital public sphere. Whether the Markovian Parallax Denigrate was a technical experiment, an art project, or something more mysterious, it stands as one of the internet's oldest and most enduring enigmas, a strange digital artifact from the dawn of our connected age that continues to resist complete explanation. If you're interested in exploring the Markovian Parallax Denigrate further, we've included links to Usenet archives and key articles about this mystery in the description below. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay curious, stay safe.